All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to our third Hangout. Welcome to Hoops Hobby Hangout. I'm here. I'm Joey here with Ryan, Steve, and Adam. Looking forward to another hour or so kind of hanging out and just talking cards. This time we are spending time to go through a series of kind of topics and questions that were submitted to us via Instagram, and that have a variety of topics. And there's a bunch, and we're kind of going to, rather than go, I guess, really in depth on any one of them, we're going to try to kind of rapid fire them. So we'll just get straight into things. I guess before we do, how have you guys been? You guys had a good week?
Uneventful, but good.
I'm exhausted. Went back to work. I work in education, so I know Joe, you're a few weeks before me, but I went back to work, and all of a sudden it's like you go from summer break until I coach both my kids' teams, which that's probably the most stressful aspect of my my life because parents are tough to deal with. But yeah, no, I'm good. Hobby's been good. Life's been good. Ready for the fall to roll around here in New England for sure.
That's awesome. It's crazy how like the first week back, it almost feels like you have to warm back up to your to game shape.
Yeah, exactly. We need a preseason.
Yeah, yes. Ryan, how you been?
Yeah, I do have a quick pickup to share.
Yes, please do.
We talked about the photogenic last time. So I got the Aaron Gordon. Let's see, this is the 24-25 photogenic fireworks out of 5.
Nice.
Oh, yes,
Cool.
That's a great photo.
Cool photo, yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. I love the action photography on these. I know I told you guys last time I was starting to chase basketball again after taking a break for a while, and those are kind of what got me back into it.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. I think I just kicked him out.
Joey, what'd you do?
I just kicked you out, dude. I'm sorry.
Like, no, we don't like those cards. Get out of here.
Get them out of here.
Photogenic cards out of there. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing. I was thinking about it today. It's like amazing how full bleed photography was such a common thing in the 90s and stuff, and now it's a premium thing, right? It's like
yeah, the very few sets have anything like that.
Yeah, and even baseball is just Stadium Club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the Jamal Murray is like him defending a player. It's not even him, focused on him. I was like, when's the last time you've seen something like that? Kind of fun.
That's very cool.
Were you chasing that parallel scene? I know it's out of 5, so it's super short printed, but it seems to be one of the more sought after parallels. Were you chasing the fireworks, or was that just happen to be like the nice match?
I won a Jamal Murray fireworks for like $25, I think, and then I was like, oh well, let me see if I can get some more. And then Aaron Gordon popped up. Jokic is going to be a little pricey, but
yeah,
I'll grab them as they come up. I think just doing like a silver set would be kind of cool too.
You guys will hear me complain about, as the season goes on, I think the Celtics will not underachieve, but they will not be at the level they were. And one of the things you guys will have to hear me complain about is missing KP, Porzingis, and his photogenics. Like he connected with the fans so well, and his photogenics is literally him like saluting the fans after a big play from behind. And I've been trying to decide which parallel. Like it's hard. It's horizontal card, so won't be great in a binder, but I'm trying to figure out which parallel out of photogenics to get for him, because it encapsulates everything I love about his time with the Celtics. So I'm looking forward to getting one of those.
That's cool.
Yeah, he became like really beloved in a really short time there, huh?
It's hard to like. You have to like. I don't. You have to like follow his, because he was in and out of the lineup all the time. But the joy that he really had for playing for the Celtics and like interacting with the fans, and even like taunting the Knicks fans, which makes the Celtics very happy. He loved being in town, and he loved being in the city and living in the city. So he's one of those guys that even if he wasn't an all-star level player, like the fans would have navigated towards him. So definitely going to be a missed guy here in Boston. Now he's stuck down in Atlanta, where I'm not even sure if they actually have basketball fans in Atlanta. So he's going to be in for a rude awakening a little bit.
Yeah, nice. Well, that's cool. Well, yeah, I love the fireworks parallels. I love the fireworks tech effect, and the laser one too, Steve, on the photogenic looks really good.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, make sure to share it when you end up getting it. Welcome everyone who's joining in. I'm going to put the QR code if you want to scan, and then I will put the link in the chat so that if at any point we'd love to have you on. We're going through a series of 6 or 7 topics and questions that people have submitted. So we'll try to jump right in so that we can we can do so in a timely manner. So let's start with the first one. And this one is, what values have we learned over our years of collecting? I think it might make sense to just like maybe each one of us answer whatever questions we feel like we have something meaningful to say for. Does that sound okay? We'll just go in around.
You know the ones I'm answering already.
Ryan wants the binder question. He's dying for that one.
Well, yeah, that and the market question.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I interrupted you, Joey, so I'll jump in. I mean, I saw this question. I thought it was a great question, a very valid one. I think the only thing that I have to it was interesting because I was thinking about doing this show with you three guys, right? And I don't know that I have anything to say as far as like a personal value that I have other than just be yourself, right? And I'm using the metric of Adam and I have been fortunate enough to get to see each other in person a couple of times. He's come to Boston. I met up with him at the National, and he is who he is. Like, he's a very genuine person. I'm very genuine, so maybe that's the value, be genuine. When Adam and I got together in person, we just picked up wherever conversation we had already had online. And like Ryan, I've never met in person, but I feel like I know personally. And if I ever get out to Denver for a game or something, I know him and I can like meet up, clink glasses, cheers each other, and just start the conversation and make fun of investing in cards. And same thing with you, Joey. Like, I'm just getting to know you, but just quick interaction. So I think just being genuine and being who you are. And I think the way I represent that is I have my name. Like, I'm not like, I don't care if anybody knows who I actually am, right? Like, if you meet me in person, if you meet me online, like, that's just who I am. And I can be a jerk sometimes. I admit it. Like, I'm sure I've had negative interactions with people at times, but just being genuine to who you are and, present yourself with integrity so that you never know what's going to come back around, whether it be a deal you want to do or a card you wanted to get, or somebody says, hey, I'm about to get a card from this guy, S. Howley. Do you trust him? And they'll be like, oh, the guy was a jerk to me, or the guy was great to me. It's just being genuine. But especially where like our whole, hope is to build community here. You just want to more be genuine so you can kind of build trust relationships with people and get to know each other.
Yeah, that's great. If you guys don't mind me piggybacking on that, because I kind of have a very similar one, and like I think I was thinking about it, and the overarching theme of everything that I was coming up with was, yeah, like know yourself and know what you want, like know your goals, because like when I started collecting like 15 years ago or whatever, money was never a reason that I started, right? Like, it was all about my fandom and connecting with my teams and my players and moments that I appreciated from being a fan of those teams and players. So that has obviously guided like the types of cards I pick up and what I like to collect and stuff like that. And I find myself really similarly in my like social media interaction, right? Like, I'm not a social media person in my personal life. Like, I don't post photos of what I do. I don't post photos of me with family and friends. I don't post photos of like I never posted photos of me when I was graduating, college or grad school or anything. Like, I didn't even actually go to my grad school graduation, right? Like, I'm just like not.
This is why we get along, Joey, because I could tell the same story. Keep going.
Yeah. And so like, it's like, I found myself on Instagram initially just to like look for cards, because I think people would say that people post cards for sale on Instagram and that's where they find a lot of cards. I don't feel like I've ever really found anything great on Instagram, but then, it was an attempt to build community. And I feel like ever since we've started hanging out every week, it's like, I don't really feel the need to do much hobby stuff. I also don't have a ton of time for it, but it's like, now that I found like a comfortable niche, both from what I collect and from a community perspective, it's like, I feel like my goals are satisfied. And so I'm happy when it comes to that. So yeah, kind of the same thing, knowing yourself, knowing your goals, knowing what you're looking for out of a hobby.
I could add just something too. The same thing you guys are kind of saying, especially you, Steve, like integrity, honesty, just those are good traits to have. How many people try to like scam somebody on a card sale or just try to make a couple extra bucks off them, And at the end of the day, all that really does is just ruin your own reputation. So I always try to like cut people a decent deal and like price stuff decent if I'm selling. I don't sell a whole ton. I don't think a lot of us do in this, right in this chat, but it's always good to, give back to people, basically Just like sometimes I've just like, who do you collect? I'll throw in a couple extra things, you know, and not even really tell them, just because I don't know, it's just fun to see their reaction or something like that.
For sure. And it's not like you're saying you have to give people like money off, but it's more just being honest with them, right? So like if
Yeah,
you get like an honest I don't even like if I pay full comps for someone, but like I reach out and someone says, "Hey, it's $100 card, send me $100, cover shipping, it's on its way to you, like no question, like just do the deal." I'm going to go back to that person again. Like it's when you have to go, I think, to what you're saying, Ryan, just like being honest and being like straightforward with people. Like if I go to someone, they're trying to, hey, yeah, I'm interested in this card for full market value, and they start like jerking me around and say, hey, maybe I can get extra $20, or they try to layer something else in, or they make it more complicated. It's like I just want to just buy the card and move on with my life. And if you're good to me about it, I'm probably going to come back to you, or I'm going to keep an eye on your story sales in the future. Right? Like, there are definitely guys on Instagram. I'll pay attention to their story sales, and I'm more likely to buy from them, even if it's not a key card for me, than I am like there's other people that I know I'm just going to ignore their story sales all the time. So no, definitely that honesty piece is just be genuine with people.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. The big thing that I was going to throw in there, just in my opinion, if you're going to be doing this, a large part of it's negotiating, and just having open and clear dialogue with people is a huge thing, I think. Because if I tell you I want $200 for a car because I really don't want to sell it, and I'm telling you honestly, okay, I'm happy to keep it, that's a lot better than the person who's trying to sell it to you for 200 and they're trying to like disguise the fact that they're charging you too much. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to sell it, but if you want it for 200, you could have it. Like, just being open with somebody or telling somebody, hey, somebody else wants to buy this for 150. If you want it for 150, it's for your PC. Like, just being open and honest in conversation with them rather than kind of, I don't know, disguising the transaction, I think is a big part of kind of what I've learned in dealing with people on here. When you're just honest with each other, I feel like it goes a long way. And to like what Steve was saying, if you're going to buy from somebody repeatedly, a lot of times it's just the simplicity of it. I've bought and sold things to Steve before I bought from you, Ryan. I mean, just being open and honest with each other, it doesn't necessarily have to be the best deal or the worst deal for either of us. We can just make a pretty smooth transaction.
I think that's a good point, Adam. And I'd say, like, to add to that, like, just trust other people. Like, have some, like, be guarded because obviously you're on the internet. You can get scammed easily, whether it be a dating site or a card purchasing site. But, if you message someone, they say, hey, I don't want to sell this, but I'm willing, like, if you want to overpay for it, then we can talk about, but I would rather keep this. That person's probably not trying to scam you. They're probably just saying, this Larry Bird card is something in my PC. I happen to have 3 Larry Bird patches. This is the one I would let go, but I don't want to, right? I think sometimes we overanalyze things and want to look for a fight or assume people try and take advantage of us. So I think, again, it's all, I think we're all just saying, like, the values we've had is learned about is just be genuine and have honest conversation with people and just be, true to yourself.
Well, I think to kind of piggyback again on that is so many people in the hobby are only about making money. So when somebody encounters someone that doesn't care about the money attached to the things they have and they just want what they have, it's such a polarizingly different take than most people they interact with. So like when you tell them like, oh, I'd rather keep it, I don't want to sell it, they just think that's like part of your ruse of like getting over on them or something. I feel like in some points it's like, oh, this is part of his pitch. He's going to come around and want too much money soon. It's like that's why like, part of my Instagram bio or whatever is nothing is for sale unless you want to offer me something or something to that effect. I don't want to sell anything I posted. This isn't why I'm here. But if you want something, don't come to me and ask for it for 80% of comps. Send me an offer and I'll tell you yes or no kind of thing. And I still get the questions of, will you sell this for 80% of whatever? But I just ignore those people.
Yeah. Good way
All
to
right,
do
awesome. Great stuff. The second thing we got was just general vintage basketball. So I don't know if you guys have like any this. I think we said we'd like do a full show on vintage basketball and stuff. But if you guys have anything, just general thoughts, favorites, things like that, what your feelings are towards vintage. Do you collect vintage? How much do you collect vintage, and why or why not? You can jump in.
This one I took a couple different ways because like vintage basketball could be like collecting things of vintage basketball players or truly vintage basketball cards. I collect both of them. I'm probably the person out of the group that's the most into that specific segment of the hobby. But yeah, I would love to do a full episode on that and go a little deeper into it. But I don't know whether the person who asked this is more wanting just an overall history or card kind of lineage of basketball, or if they're wanting to just discuss like the vintage sets. I'm not sure which one they're going for there, but I would be happy to do either one.
Yeah, I was going to say, Adam, and I'll jump on top of that. Is I was going to say, like, I would love to know what people want us to discuss, and we're no expert, and I would really hope that people that have an interest in this would scan that QR code, Joey, and join us. I'll just sort of set the table maybe for some future discussion where 1948 Bowman is the first full basketball set. And then 1957 Topps is the first NBA basketball set because in 1948 it was still pre-NBA time, and we can talk about that in the basketball associations that were around back then. And then going back into, but there are cards as early as the early 1900s. What's up, Kyle? Where the original cards and this debate over women's basketball teams, collegiate stuff. So it would be really fun to talk about, and then going to the oversized stuff. So whether vintage basketball is like the actual sets or some of the pre set stuff, but there's a really cool lineage that really tracks, and I really did a deep dive into it around the 75th anniversary of the NBA and mapping out the history of the NBA. And when you go into that pre-NBA stuff and the owners that were involved and baseball and football that was involved in the basketball development, like there's some cool stuff that we can talk about. But I'd love to hear more from people that kind of want to come and hang out with us and talk about the hobby. How's that for a plug with some of the vintage stuff? Because there's a lot you can go into, and we could honestly, just have people on and talk about, the tall boy cards for a whole hour versus the 1957 set for a whole hour. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Actually, Kyle just went through the whole Topps run. I watched that video, Kyle. That was great.
That's because he's hoping that Fanatics Topps, or what did one of his listeners call it, the Fanatics or something, does a throwback set where they'd start doing filling in the LeBron James and Steph Curry's Topps cards.
They
that's
should.
my guess as to why you did that. No, they should. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We talked about that last
Will
week.
they do that?
No, they don't even know what their cards looked like before they bought out Topps.
Has anybody at Topps actually worked at Topps for more than 2 years? That's the real question, I think.
Oh, there it is. Topps Natics. Kyle put
Topps
it in there.
Natics. That's
oh, nice. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I guess like I have a weird relationship with vintage. Like for a long time, I think I definitely said it when I was talking to Kyle on Wax Museum. Like I collect cards that I feel a connection to. So anyone pre 1998 Kings, like I don't really collect. Anyone pre 1990 Cleveland Indians, I don't really collect. So like vintage stuff has never really appealed to me. And some people might call this a controversial take, but I actually don't even feel like it's really that appealing aesthetically. I think like modern cards are like just between the technology and the design and the colors and the printing, just aesthetically more beautiful. But the hours and hours that I've watched vintage baseball YouTube stuff, like I kind of am starting to come around, and now I'll kind of just browse eBay for random vintage stuff. And I'm excited to learn, and I can't wait till we get to the point when we're spending an hour talking about a random set or like random oddball releases or whatever. Yeah, like I think that so far I'm not educated enough to really get into it and now I think I'm interested enough to hopefully start learning more. So hopefully we'll see where it goes.
I'll leave you with a nugget, Joey, to think about as far as maybe some things that loop you in a little bit. One, the Americana aspect of it. So thinking about what was going on in our country or the world when these cards were released. So you can think in 1948, 1957. If you want to talk about like the Murad cards and some of the Williams College cards in the early 1900s. But also what really hit home for me was buying cards and thinking of where like the generations before me wore, right? Whether it be my grandmother or like in 1957, my mother was probably 3 or 4 years old, and connecting like the Americana, but also the family aspects of it and what was going on in the world at those times really like resonated with me. And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but thinking of the history of the sports, and I got into basketball because of one of my grandmothers. When she would babysit me, we would watch the good guy Celtics versus the bad guys as like a little kid. And so thinking about what she was up to when these cards were released or who the players were, or you go into 1957 when we do eventually talk about that, so many of those players went to war or had to go to war. And like thinking about that connection is really different than modern day collecting. And that really is what resonates with me. So there's my little sales pitch to you to kind of dig a little deeper into it.
Great point. And I love basketball history. Like I love the greats of the game, and like I look forward to hopefully eventually, getting a vintage Oscar or whatever card, especially because he was with the Kings franchise. But like, yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to all that. Just a quick comment: the crazy one is not excited for Topps to take over, and is excited for Panini unlicensed. So. That'll be an interesting one. I know we've shared a little bit on unlicensed stuff in the past, but it'll be interesting to see what Panini does once they lose the license. The next question, I don't know how long. Maybe you could take the rest of the show, but someone wanted to know, Adam, why your head is split.
I didn't know the order this was coming, but yeah.
Yeah, Adam, so this is an inside joke, so we'll gloss over this very quickly. But shout out to our buddy Jason. But what size fitted hat are you?
7 3/4.
There you go. I was 100% cleaning out closets with my kids this weekend. I tried to put on my old 7 1/4 size fitted hats, and I had to give them all to the kids. So my head's getting fat. I'm not doing steroids. Are you?
I'm not. No, I was thinking about doing it though. That way, I at least have an excuse.
Did you guys ever see any of the videos where they this was pre the technology we have now, where they tried to map out how Barry Bonds' head was growing? Did you guys ever see any of those?
I've heard of it. I've never seen the videos.
So they would do growth scales from his Pirates days to his MVP days with the Giants, and it's pretty impressive. But enough about Adam's head. What's next, Joey?
What is next is what we remember about the binder era of the 90s and the 2000s. Ryan, do you want to start us off on that one?
Yeah, go Ryan.
Did we ever leave it? Because I did not leave the binder era.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, those of you probably that follow me on Instagram know that I'm a big binder guy. I'm actually told you guys earlier before we started the show, I'm converting all my 130 point and thicker cards into binders. I found one that will fit them. Kyle knows that as well if he's still on. I was trying to make him faint by seeing some logo mans in a binder. But yeah, that's how I grew up collecting, is putting cards in a binder, sorting them by player. And when I got back collecting again, especially with basketball, because when I first got back into the hobby, probably around the time that Panini took over, early 2010s, I was getting some baseball cards, to be honest, and then I moved into basketball. But when I moved into basketball, I was like, oh, I have a ton of this stuff, So I actually took a lot of my collection from when I was a kid and sorted it by player. So Michael Jordan, here's the Magic Johnson, here's the D Brown. I was really a big D Brown fan living in Boston at the time when I was collecting. What else? Olajuwon, all the greats from that era. And just that's what I did for literally a couple months. What does Kyle say here? Ryan's relic binder.
You're overstimulating him with your yeah. He's not rocking with you on the 130 point cards in the binder.
I will say though, the specific binder that I got, and maybe I'll flash an image on the screen when we do the edited version of this. It's for top loaders, right? And so they're pretty secure in there, I would say. I don't know how they get messed up because it's one of those zipper binders, right? So I put it in a penny sleeve, a top loader that's size accurate, and then another one of those superior fit sleeves. You guys use those where they fit the card really well, and it's not like a team bag where it's all bulky. There's a shout out to them. Maybe they can send me some free product. But anyway, that's what I do, and then I throw them in that binder, and they seem secure to me. I've been using binders forever though, so I'm comfortable putting decent cards in a regular binder too, to be honest.
Right. No, and I think you and I both, Ryan, have. I mean, I've got Prism Golds and Gold Refractors and 101 Autos in a binder as well. But like Adam was saying pre-show, 35 to 75 point. Have you ever tried, with the binder you use, would it be safe to put a 130 point card in just a penny sleeve and fit in there? Would that cut down on the bulk a little bit, or would it move around?
I would not probably do it because I feel like it's not, as secure in there. When you're flipping the pages, you might bend it a little easier.
So what are you doing? Are you doing just the front? Are you doing just the front side then? Because there's no way you can fit 260 point plus
No. I think 130 point is kind of the cutoff. I've done ones that are slightly bigger. You know, the ones where you're kind of like, I can't get in at a 130 point and get the thing down, but this is what it looks like.
So no immaculate solo game cards in there is what you're saying.
Wow.
That would be cool.
It's quite large, though. As you can see, I was showing you that's how thick this thing is.
Yeah. And just to clarify, so you're only filling one side of that page.
Right. Yeah. So those ones are kind of like the Z folios, if people are familiar with that, or the Pro binders from Ultra Pro, I think they are. This one's like a kind of a generic brand, but it's made for the top loaders specifically. And so you get one page and then you just leave the page behind it blank because they are kind of thick. And yeah, I wouldn't chance trying to shove stuff in the other side. You probably rip all the little pockets out.
So yeah, it's interesting. I might have to ask you for that link or something, because I would love to display thicker cards like that where I could just flip through and look at them.
Maybe I'll throw a link or something in here on the edited version of this.
An affiliate link. Get
yeah, affiliate link. Yeah.
I think to the crazy ones. So if for people that listen to the audio, he says thicker cards in a binder could damage other cards. I think the binder that Ryan's shown is one of these, like, I don't even know how to describe it. But it's like these folio style ones where it has a different spine to it, where the only real concern is the cards that are on the other side. So it's two-sided binder pages, and especially the ones along the spine can start to bend over time. So you do have to be a little bit wary of like how thick the overall page is. It's not that the cards will damage each other, but the thickness of the page on top of page on top of page along the spine will build up. So what Ryan's doing is doing just one side and keeping it level, keeping it flat. Whereas I think not only ripping the plastic, Ryan, but if you were to do like along that spine other thick cards, eventually they would start to bow out the spine of that binder, and you could start to get some. It's not even creasing; they just bend. Yeah. What's that? Sorry.
Like, you can see how thick this thing is. That's about as thick as I'm going to go. I probably still have 10, 15 pages at the end, because you're using thicker cards. It's made for thin cards, right? So I'm kind of capping it at a certain amount so I'm not running into that situation.
Right.
Really cool. Does anyone else remember have any kind of memories from binder era? Or I guess it sounds like we all kind of continue to use binders. Adam, are you using binders or?
Yeah, I have some. It's not what I use for most of my collection, but I use 4-row boxes for a lot of their 2-row boxes, and some of it I consolidate it down the 35, 55, maybe 75 point stuff into a binder, and just everything I do is alphabetical for like the Hall of Fame stuff. So like all the thinner stuff that was like duplicates of players, I put into a few binders. That way I still have a way of organizing it easily and kind of making less space in the boxes where I can fit more cards in them. But it's not something I'm as devoted to as Ryan, for example, or even Steve.
Well, very cool. I just want to mention the thing that I remember. The thing that came in my mind was like my first memory of sports card collecting. I think I told you guys like I didn't really collect sports card in the 90s, but the one thing I remember is like being on the floor in my house with my brother, because he collected baseball cards, and to a lesser degree basketball cards, and just like sorting out like organizing base sets, eventually putting them in binders. And so it just made me think like, to me, and it seems like to whoever asked this question, like that was a big representative factor of like what it was to be a collector. It feels like that's kind of gone, like that idea of collecting and like storing and appreciating cards. Like a lot of people do it, don't get me wrong, but it just feels like, and this might be kind of a segue into our next question, that the image online of like collectors and what people do with cards in the hobby is like very different now. So it just came to mind. The crazy one also mentions that he has the same type of binders, but's wary about having had cards damaged in the past with the older type. So
I will say that, when during the hype of like, when I say the hype, I'm talking like that 2020 to 2022 season. I had several cards that had been in like the Z folio style binders that I pulled out, like gold rookies and stuff, that I ended up doing the whole grading thing and flipping. And I had many, many, many like autograph cards, and they were all thin. They were all 55, 75 point cards, but autographs, gold rookies, etc. vast majority of them that had been in binders for a couple of years came back PSA 10s, PSA 9s, and I was able to sell them. So I think just being, the current technology is good. Don't go buy, those cheap binder pages from Target and a $2 D-ring binder and expect the same, protection. But from a card company, Ultra Pro, BCW, or whatever, I think you're going to be pretty safe with some of the modern stuff.
Awesome. All right, cool. So speaking of the next topic, here's our kind of first question that I know everyone's looking forward to, and that's, do people buy and sell cards as a brand over being a collector? I know, Ryan, you're kind of our representative market person. I don't know if you want to start or someone else.
Yeah, and I think we were kind of trying to decipher this question. And I think what's being asked here is, let's say you're at a show, right? And you're buying a card for content. I may be wrong about this question, so you guys can give me your take on it. But that's kind of how I felt. Was like, there is a lot of people out there that do buy cards and kind of make a big deal of the whole buying process. And I spent this amount of money on it, and look at my, card that I spent 10 grand on, or whatever it is. And in that case, maybe they are a collector. But a lot of times it seems kind of fake to me. So that's what I kind of think that's asking there. What do you guys think?
Well, I think I do think something along those same lines. I think that, in the last, well, let's say 10 years, with the application of social media to the hobby, it's brought in what you see in social media in every facet, right? And I think someone was mentioning, I don't know if it was one of you guys who was mentioning, like, there's social media and like YouTube influencers and like home organization and like
everything,
pizza baking and like whatever, right? And so it's like, I think a lot of that is true. It's just, along with social media, there's people whose presence online, or whose, I guess we can say, whose purpose in cards is really just to build a brand. And whether that's buying cards for the sake of building that brand, whether that's the reason they share them online, the reason they like post however many times a day, or share whatever stories however many times a day. So I definitely think that there's a large I don't know what the word is, like a segment of people, a large population that are doing something along those lines. And I took it kind of similarly.
Yeah, and I think just to throw this in, because I told people I'd bring this up, the whole Jordan, Kobe, $12 million sale that we've all been hearing about, right? That was to build a brand. And what was the brand is, started by, I think it was Shine and Kevin O'Leary who bought it, and maybe one other guy. Well, they started a brand called Secure that's basically going to help people acquire those level of cards. So for them, that $12 million was marketing. I mean, how many news outlets cover that? ESPN, I saw something like NBC about it. How many people shared that? That's good marketing. So that's building a brand. So, when it comes to, do you buy cards and do you spend an exorbitant amount to build brands like that? Yes, that definitely happens. But another point I was just going to make is, for us as collectors, does that really matter? Right? To me, I look at that and I'm like, whatever, I kind of see through it. And you guys might have a different take of, that card, did they actually buy it for a different purpose? But for me, it was just marketing. I'm like, whatever, it's just another marketing scheme. To me as a collector, that doesn't really matter to me. Like, that's not going to change the game for me. That's not going to make my Danilo Gallinari cards suddenly 20x or something like that, nor would I care. So that's kind of how I felt about it.
All right, so we should, what you're saying is the four of us should pool our money together. We probably, like, if I go into our pocket right now, maybe we have like, $100 a pop. We'll buy a card and then we'll market the Hoops Hobby Hangout brand. Is that what you're saying? And then like CNBC will cover it for us?
Yeah, we got to start a fractionalized startup as well, so that people can buy into that card that we bought.
I honestly don't. I'm not even trying to sound like pompous or ignorant or anything. Like, I honestly know very little about this dual logo, man. Other than like I've seen like something on YouTube, but I haven't watched it, so I don't know the fact that Shine's involved in. No, I don't know who this kid. Like, I don't know who Kevin is, right? But there is
Mr. Wonderful.
it's hilarious to know that there are actually people with like a lot of money that we're sitting around talking about should we do this or that as our marketing investment strategy, and that they maybe got together and decided to buy a basketball card. Like that is so weird to me, and I don't know that it's completely bad for the hobby, but it's not good for the hobby either, if that makes sense, right? Like I think there's a middle ground there, but it's fascinating to hear you guys talk about it because I honestly haven't consumed any of that content yet.
Man, you're lucky because I've unfollowed so many accounts, man, and I still saw that just constantly over the past week.
Well, and that's kind of the thing that's like not bothered me, but that's kind of the thing that's put me off from a lot of, like channels and podcasts and stuff. It's like, I don't, you think that like a hobby channel, like that's not what you are talking about all the time, right? I mean, I know we're talking about it right now, so maybe that's a little bit of a contradiction, but it's like I'm being hypocritical here, but it's like that. Yeah, I don't know why us four like common collectors need to be talking about, or even like popular channels, right? Like there's popular influencing channels that have like thousands of followers, and I just don't know why that even has to like matter. I guess it's obviously going to get people to watch them. I guess that's the ultimate goal of their channels and stuff. And to your point, Ryan, I don't know if anything would say it. If anything, it might negatively influence the way I enjoy the hobby, right? Because I don't want to constantly be seeing and constantly having to filter out stuff about a big $13 million dual logo man sale and how that's going to affect things, right? Like, so it's like really made it hard to watch a lot of or listen to a lot of hobby content, which I guess is part of the reason why I was like, why can't we just talk about cards,
Yeah, kind of what spurred this whole deal, right? To get away from that kind of stuff. And that's essentially why I mentioned that, is that you have to like look at this kind of stuff with a grain of salt. Like, does it actually affect you just collecting some set that you're going after from, the 2000s or 90s or something? It doesn't, And so to put it in perspective is good to do. It's just kind of take a step back. Oh, it's going to be real hyped up for a day or two and everybody's going to be talking about it, but you don't have to let it get to you. And I did that for a number of years, just let all that stuff get to me. And I'm taking several breaks from social media because of it, but I think I found a balance now to where I'm not letting that stuff overwhelm me and I'm just kind of moving past it,
Yeah. It's another thing that turns kind of card collecting into an industry, and it's slowly shrinking at least the feeling of people collecting rather than people building brands, investing, flipping, making businesses, right? Like that's kind of what it seems like the mainstream stuff revolves around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. I think that's good. Anyone have anything else that they want to add on that?
No, sir.
And we can move past it.
Yeah, this is, I think, I'm sure going to be popular. And I don't even know if I have anything to contribute here, but what are your favorite late 90s insert designs? I'm sure there's a lot of wealth of knowledge you guys have about this.
I'll be the negative one here and say I'm not a huge fan of late '90s cards. I think and there's a debate to be had over parallels versus inserts, and there's a few. That's the one era that I wasn't actively collecting in, and then you go back to when I went back in as an adult and started chasing Paul Pierce cards, and he was from the strike, the drafter and the strike in '98, so he wasn't in a lot of cards. Antoine Walker got a lot of the hot inserts from back then, but I wasn't really chasing his cards. So I don't really have, there's a couple, the Prodigy set's great. I'm more of a parallel fan from that era, even though I will tell you right now that the PMG red and greens are massively overrated and kind of ugly cards that chip like crazy. But there are a lot of upper decks that did some cool stuff. A lot of the refractors look really good, but I'm not very knowledgeable. I could tell you a little bit more about early 2000s inserts, but I'm not very knowledgeable about the late 90s inserts because it's just not an era that I gravitate towards, and I had nothing's really called to me from that era that I've chased over some other stuff.
So if I can interrupt, because I'm similar to you, like I didn't collect during that time, and as someone who didn't collect during that time, I feel like I'm very very much in the minority when I think that those late 90s cards aren't as amazing as people claim them to be, or as people talk about them being. So I don't know, Ryan or Adam, you can tell us that we're crazy that we don't think late 90s cards are like the most amazing things that has existed since sliced bread or whatever. But I'm sure there's great stuff. There is great stuff out there, but
I'm gonna let Adam go because I need to go dig some out because I'm trying to think of like inserts in my head. I'm like,
but it is tough, Ryan, because it is more of a parallel era, right? Like if you think of the legacy cards, the refractors, the first day issues, it definitely is more of a parallel era than it is an insert era.
Yeah, that's kind of where I looked over. I have a box next to me of stuff that's inserts of that era. And to kind of preface, this is kind of newer for me. I know I do buy some of them, but I'm much more of like a patch auto type collector than I am a 90s insert guy. But one that I just looked over and jumped out at me when I grabbed the box, I do enjoy is the Noise Boys. I do like those. They have kind of a lenticular effect to them that kind of moves around. I've always thought those were pretty cool.
Oh yeah, on that die cut.
Then one that kind of touching on what you were just saying about parallels rather than inserts. I'm going to cheat and throw one of those in. I really do enjoy the non-protected refractors.
Those are awesome.
Where probably all you guys are familiar with, but the fronts are normal refractor cards, but the backs are also. So just something kind of unique, and they slip through the cracks a lot. I know I've probably told at least a couple of you guys. I picked up a Dirk rookie at the National from David Adams, of all people, one of the more you would think knowledgeable people, for the price of a regular refractor. So like it was under half of the cost of that card should have been. So there's still things to be kind of slipped through the cracks, and when it comes to this kind of stuff that just kind of goes unseen.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
No, sorry. I just thought of another one here. I have in a different box. It just came to mind. Antoine Walker, Ultra Stars Gold. It has a really like scratched up sleeve on it. Let me try to take it out. I was not prepared for the question. I missed this one. But
oh yeah,
Ultra Stars Gold.
Those are nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
really.
That is nice.
Yeah, it's like a kind of an atomic, and they make a silver version of these that is somewhat common. You would see pretty regularly, but the golds are pretty tough. Kind of makes it unique and special.
And I'll just answer the question while Ryan gets organized. Just it has nothing to do with value. It's just my collecting. One of the things I did when I got back in the hobby was bust a few hobby boxes of 98, 99 products, Jason Pierce, Dirk, VC stuff. And my favorite insert set that I was chasing, but then ended up getting scammed over in some non-hobby released stuff that wasn't serial printed. I love the 98, 99 finest. It's called Court Control. So the base is out of 750. The refractors are out of 150. They've got like a hardwood design in the background, like the court, and then really cool action shots of players like Duncan and Vince Carter, Paul Pierce. So that's my favorite insert set from the late 90s, just from a personal perspective of stuff that I was like ripping and collecting and trying to get in binders. But if anybody out there hears this and wants to find any, be very, very careful, because the vast majority of the ones in the market, and including some that I sent to Ryan for free, are sheet cut ones that don't have serial numbers on them. And PSA missed a bunch of them. ComC has missed a bunch of them. And I had the complete set and then realized afterwards that I had missed that detail and had kind of screwed up when I got a ComC delivery and a PSA, submission back. So be careful on that one.
Yep. I got a couple to share. It's a topic that probably could go for a little while longer on, but I just put on my Tim Duncan binder real quick just to show off a couple. But this, let's see, this is the Thrill Seekers. Here, I'll make it a little larger. Oops.
Hi, Joey. Hey, you look like a Thrill Seekers card.
How do I zoom in on me? Hold on a second. Anyway, this is the 97 Thrill Seekers.
I don't think I've seen those before.
I'll throw up it's actually got the PMG kind of background from the PMG championships. I'll throw a better image of this and the kind of re-edited version of this. So that's a cool one. I do like these. Let's see, these are Fleer Ultra Star Power Supremes. And so there's different versions of these as well.
Those are acetate, Ryan?
Oh, yeah, it's an acetate card. Yeah, this one's it looks yellowed, but I think it's actually designed that way.
Supposed to be yellow.
So it wasn't yellowed.
It's not a gold version.
Yeah.
In looking at cards, from the 90s and inserts. That one popped out to me.
Yeah, and there's, the Star Power Supreme. They have one or two other parallels of that actual insert. And then I know, Adam, I don't know if you ended up buying this one, but this is the Big Man on
I haven't
court.
yet. I do want to get one of those.
Yeah, so this is the, what is it? Skybox Z, is it Z-Force? Yeah, it's
Z-Force,
Skybox Z-Force, Big Men on court.
Yeah.
And as you can kind of tell, it's got this like 3D honeycomb effect. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I'll throw up a better photo of this for the edited down YouTube version. But that's just three that come to mind. There's a ton, honestly, that I like. And if we get into my Nugget side, which is kind of buried in there, I'm not going to go try to pull it out right now, but I've got some other ones as well. It was unique inserts of the time. I actually like a lot of the die cut stuff too. Whereas if you look at this Star Power Supreme, it's actually somewhat die cut, but they have even crazier ones at this. Like, I don't know if you guys remember those Prime Twine ones. I think they were maybe were they Hoops or something?
Oh, yeah.
They're at a lower end
Hoops.
set.
I'm pretty sure like Hoops, was it Hoops Supreme or something, like some weird set like that? Yeah.
And they were like super die cut. They're
Yeah.
little laser cuts everywhere on that thing, and they're really like sensitive. And I got like a McDice of it. It's one of my favorite McDice cards. So I really like 90s inserts myself. But yeah, like you said, Steve, there's a lot of parallels too. So maybe we can get into that at another time, like the parallel designs of base sets and stuff.
And I think if you really want to look in like where the inserts really started hitting home, it's really like 99 through like 2003 is really when because the hobby was struggling back then. They really came out like that Beam Team out of 500 laser cut set, or even like the 99 2000 Hoops build your own card where you got to like submit and design it yourself. There was some pretty innovative insert sets coming out in the early 2000s. So definitely some good stuff from out there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I did want to throw one other set in. I just looked over and saw. I really do like these. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with them, but
I don't know that one.
97 Skybox Premium Thunder and Lightning. They have a really cool shine. It kind of goes back to those non-protected refractors where I enjoy when they have kind of a front and back appeal to them. But on top of that, the kind of, I don't know, lime greenish colored outline around them, it glows in the dark, which I thought was pretty cool.
No way.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
They're pretty neat. It doesn't have as many players in it as I would like, but it is a cool design. I thought the color kind of goes really well with this era of Pistons jersey, so I had to grab the Grant Hill.
Nice.
Yeah, I pulled out just a couple cards, and I mean, I think what's so interesting is, you guys are, especially Steve, you're talking about how like you feel it was 99 through 03, and I feel like there's so many crazy valuable insert sets from starting even as early as like 93, 94, all the way through the end of the 90s. So it's interesting that that's kind of like your perspective. I found a couple that I think look really good, and that's why I added them of like various players. I think the effect here on the Tim Duncan liftoffs, this is the liftoff set. It's hard to tell, but I think that looks really nice. That's from 98, 99. It's like very poor lighting, nice. I think, but finally.
Yeah, those are nice.
Yeah, and you can see the kind of atomic effect on there.
Very subtle in the background, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then there's similar with this is Bowman's best picks. Adam and I talked about this before, but it's like a die cut there. You can it's a die cut back here, and it's got this is the atomic. And then I just thought this one was like interesting because it's a John Stockton trophy case, and it's not like particularly got a nice effect or anything, but just the texture on it is great because it's like all embossed and stuff. So you might be able to tell like there's like a lot of texture on there, and even in the back you can see like the outline of the design on the front. So just some cool stuff there that I thought was nice.
And we're going long here, so we don't need to talk about this, but I think we just need to say that like Autographics was an insert set back in the late 90s, and that's a pretty cool set. So I think that's a good transition.
Yeah, there's some in the chat. So things like beam teams, triumvirates, the upper deck electric courts.
Oh, the electric court.
Parallels, right? Or are they?
Yeah, they started with electric diamonds in baseball and went over to electric court in basketball. They're not worth anything now, but man, when you were a kid, you thought you were pulling something for your retirement fund if you got a good player.
Electric courts, so they had the regular rainbow holofoil for those. Was When did they start that? 93, 94, somewhere around there?
Around that, I was thinking 93, 94 collector's choice.
The golds can be tough and can go for a bit. I mean, outside of Jordan, maybe not like a ton of money, but I've been trying to chase those golds for like my Nuggets team sets for years, man, and it's tough. You know who has a ton of them is Abra,
Sneaky tough for sure.
Calabro. Yeah,
I was just going to shout him out.
we'll give him
Yeah.
another shout out, and someday he'll join us, right?
Yeah. Some other ones that were thrown out: Crash the Game.
Oh
I-
yeah,
Oh, those were fun.
Yeah, I recognize the name.
Those are, you like played you played basically played like a fantasy game with them. Yeah.
And Drew confirmed, yeah, the prime twine was hoops.
Oh,
and it was
yeah.
out of 500.
Mm.
A little love for the trophy case, and then the last thing, Top Spectra Light. I'm not familiar with those at all.
Nah, I don't think I know that one either. I'll have to look that up after we get off.
Yeah, we'll have to find some. I don't know, Ryan, if you can find a picture of that and throw it in.
I will if I can find one.
Okay, our last thing here to round us out is whether any of us can comment, or all of us, on the misuse or misrepresentation of data to push a market explosion narrative.
I mean, that I think all of us could go on a pretty long rant, but I had a good conversation with someone earlier about how the hobby is sort of a microcosm of the greater society, where social media and narratives are just being forced in front of our face. So all I would say is go back to your middle school English teacher who made you do your first research paper, and she taught you how to go through the library system and how to identify trusted sources and fiction versus nonfiction. Just remember to be skeptical and take some time to reflect back on the data that you're consuming and trust its, validity and integrity is all I'm going to say. But and it's not even being like a donkey about things. It's like, just that really is what's happening right now, is people are being paid to put a certain narrative out there, and it's not always a false narrative, but they're being paid, and you just need to know the other side of the debate, and always know your enemy's take, so that you can counter them a little bit. But just be skeptical, and not in a bad way, but just know your sources and make sure you take the time to understand where their information's coming from. But it's happening for sure.
That's a great way to explain it, Steve. I was going to probably say almost the exact same thing as you, and you said it much more eloquently than I probably would have. So we can leave it at that for sure. But yeah, it's, take all that stuff with a grain of salt. It's like our last question about the market. It's usually trying to push you towards something that they're involved with, some brand or some business startup that they've, happened to run across, or just get you into their break or their, store or whatever it is. So, just be mindful of that.
And I think I was telling you guys earlier, like, thinking about this question, it was actually like late last night. I got woken up at 2 a.m. to take my 3-year-old to the bathroom. So as I was trying to go back to sleep and I was thinking about this question, I just started getting like kind of annoyed, because I was like,
stay off social media, Joey, as you're trying to go to sleep at night. Like, that's your first issue.
I was not on social media trying to go to sleep. It was thinking about a video I'd watched earlier that day from Spitball and Cards. They're like a baseball card YouTube channel. And I personally think they do a good job of like talking cards from a collector perspective, but I think they do talk a decent amount of like, well, I want to buy this card so it can increase in value or whatever. So I think they do have a little bit of the investor flipper mindset, but I think they do a good job talking about the cards part. But they were like highlighting how, if you look at what's so popular these days, and like at risk of like pissing anyone off, and I'm not trying to do that, like whether you're looking at the various like card pricing apps like Card Ladder or Market Movers or whatever card pricing apps, like they all use these indexes or like indices. I don't know what the correct way to say it, but like they all use them. And like they had a really good point about how like easily those could potentially, or how misleading they could be, right? It's like they were talking about the baseball card index on, I don't even remember which app, but it's like you see that it's up 20% or whatever, but if Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani are up 500% and everyone else is down 1%, like you're still going to get a net increase of 20%, and like doesn't really mean anything. Not to mention the fact that like, I was talking about a card. I was negotiating with a seller on a card, and he was like, oh, this player's index is up 14%, but like this card isn't part of their index, but their overall card sales are like up 14%. I'm like, what does that do for you, dude? Like, who cares? Like, I don't care if like their RPAs are up by whatever, and then every other card is down by 20%, then it's going to show that their index is up. It's just like, I've always had an issue with the idea of like, and people that are better with markets and stocks and whatever are probably can tell me how dumb I am for not liking this index thing. But like, I've never liked the idea that we cherry pick specific cards to represent like a player's market or the market of basketball cards or an era of cards as a whole. Actually, one of them cut off the low end index at $500 and below. And I'm like, dude, I think I might have ever spent $500 once on a card. And like, yeah, I guess I'm just like the pores that collect like whatever, but still, it's just like it's absurd to think that like $500 of discretionary income to buy a card is where it is low end, yeah, right? So, but anyway, again, I'm just getting pissed off, and it's like, I think the index thing, like, even though everyone really supports it, and I know everyone that's behind those apps is like a very respected, well, like, I don't know everyone, but people have different opinions on like all that, but I just think that it's too easily accepted, right? Like this idea that you can use index to really navigate like everything about a market or a card sale or whatever that you might be picking up. So I don't know. Sorry for going on a rant.
So to talk about misuse of information, so we've got Drew Tang NYC here in the chat spewing stuff about Spectralite tops from the mid 90s, and it just influenced me to spend a whopping $5 on a PC card that
and it's his avatar on the hobby boards.
Right, on the hobby board. So look at he's forcing it down our throat, these Spectralites, and I didn't even realize what was happening, and then I stopped listening to you for 30 seconds, Joey, went on ComC and bought a card.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I kind of went off the rails there.
And you know what? I think this is, we all collect cards. That's what we mainly do. It's hard to get asked stuff like that and keep it within that context, because another thing I was going to mention about that is we all have to look at it. We're all on social media, and that's the direction it's going. So it's okay to to discuss it. Obviously, we're probably not going to be the people to go to for the best takes on indexes and stuff like that, but we're going to be seeing it, so might as well have something to say about it.
All right, I'll do what I did the last few weeks. Say we actually went over this time. We're coming up on an hour, so we should probably wrap it up so people that want to listen to this afterwards or leave people hanging. I think next week, Adam and I are going to dig into our PCs a little bit, again, be more conversational. I don't know that we have to go into like the history of us, Adam, though I'm sure we'll all mute and just let you talk for 30 straight minutes if you want. But if anybody has any thoughts about things they want to know about our PCs or about our collecting, or why Adam has a ton of helmets behind him, or why I collect a guy named Jay Crowder, feel free to reach out. Would love, or hop on and grill us, interrogate us on our collections. Feel free to. But I think that'll be the main focus. But again, I think I can speak for all of us that if anybody has any other thoughts or things that they want to discuss or hop on, we're happy to pivot away from that. So just kind of end with that.
Yeah, awesome. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for hanging out. To everyone on screen, everyone in the chat, and have a great week. And we'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Be well, everybody.